Tom Thibodeau and the Bulls got busy at the NBA draft, trading for Jimmy Butler, his former star player, and one of the 15 best players in the league this previous NBA season. The place where there will be an immediate upgrade for the T-Wolves, and what I'm looking at is defense, because they were not good on that side of the floor last season. Part of that being because they were a young team. Zach LaVine, Karl-Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, three guys who just haven't gotten the defensive stuff down in the NBA yet. Understandable, it takes a while. Jimmy Butler's going to be able to walk in immediately and be their best defensive player, someone who can defend, at times, the best perimeter player on the other team. Not all the time, of course, because given his offensive responsibility as well, you don't want to tire the guy out too much. But there will definitely be stretches where when someone's killing you on the other team, you put Jimmy Butler on him. And a lot of the time, that problem you're facing, it's going to be corrected. But of course, Butler is one of the best two-way players in the NBA today. So I can talk about offensively what he does for them. He's really the first guy they've had in a while who's going to have the ball in his hands a lot, who can create offense for himself, but also for other guys as well. Because if you're looking at some of his teammates, Ricky Rubio, you're never really scared of Rubio to score. It's always going to be to pass it off to someone. Same thing with Andrew Wiggins. If Wiggins is in isolations, he averages, 2 assists a game 3 years into his career. Jimmy Butler put up 5.5 assists for the Chicago Bulls this previous season. So when he's got the ball in his hands, you don't really know what he's going to do. He could attack you one-on-one. He could be a threat in transition. But you also have to defend him to make a play as well, which gives the T-Wolves just a lot more versatility and stuff that they can do offensively. And of course, Tom Thibodeau, knowing full well his former players' capabilities, he's going to get him the ball a lot. But here's the thing. I have a fear that it will not be a perfect fit with Jimmy Butler and the rest of these T-Wolves. We will get into that one in a second, but still, just going from guys who are kind of one-dimensional with the ball in their hands to someone who can make a play as well as score in Jimmy Butler, that's going to do a lot of things for these guys. Play him in the pick and roll, and you will have to actually play normal defense. You can't just provide all the help in the world, but you can't also just gang up on Butler the way you would with an Andrew Wiggins or whatever. But now let's get to the one teammate who I do think he will fit in very well with, and that is Karl-Anthony Towns. Because Towns is setting himself up to be one of the most versatile big guys ever. He kind of already is that just based on his second season. But given his ability to just do everything, he can already be a decent three-point shooter as well as a mid-range shooter, someone who can create his own shot. But he and Jimmy Butler are going to have a lot of offense run through them. If he's in transition, Butler's going to get him the ball. If it's a pick and roll in the half court, if it's a pick and pop, the options with Jimmy Butler having the ball in his hands and then Karl-Anthony Towns doing something offensively are pretty much endless, because Towns can do whatever the hell you want him to do. Hit from outside, finish at the rim, create his own stuff. That one's going to be fine. Here are the other questions, though, one of which is Ricky Rubio. I don't know how the hell he fits in with this team at this point, because when Jimmy Butler's got the ball in his hands, which is going to be a lot, what's Rubio going to do? Rubio is not a shooter whatsoever, and he provided some problems for them just this previous year. Even if ultimately I think he was an okay piece for them, I just don't see Rubio as a floor spacer at all for Jimmy Butler. The one way to correct it would be to put the ball in Rubio's hands, but then I feel like you're kind of wasting Jimmy Butler's talent if you're asking him to play off ball. Rubio's cool as a passer and that type of stuff, but he's just nowhere close to where Jimmy Butler is with the ball in his hands. So you might need to look for a new point guard, one who can shoot. But the other one's Andrew Wiggins, and this one is going to be the very interesting one. Wiggins and Jimmy Butler's on-court relationship. Wiggins can definitely put the ball in the basket. His three-point shot creeped up to just about over league average this season while taking about 3 a game. It took him until his third NBA season to finally be respectable from three, so part of me thinks there's a chance that he might dip down. Now, he could take a step up or he could remain the same, but given that he wasn't just a guy who immediately was making an impact from three, it's tough for me to imagine him just being this perfect off-ball player. Now, I think there's life for him cutting to the basket off of Jimmy Butler offense, but I'm not going to lie to you. Given Wiggins' inability to become an all-around player at this point, with his playmaking, his rebounding, his defense, if he's disappointing and his fit is not right with Jimmy Butler, I could see the idea of them moving Andrew Wiggins to fill out this roster with guys who can help out Jimmy Butler as well as karl-Anthony Towns. But on the flip side, Wiggins could step up and he could be an awesome piece next to Jimmy Butler, someone whose athleticism and maybe a more improved jump shot as well as just improved off-ball play could be the awesome number 3 guy for this team. We're just going to have to wait and see. Some other things, I don't think Gorgui Dieng is the right power forward for this team whatsoever. I would rather have a 3-point shooter at that position to give Towns and Butler and Wiggins all the space in the world they need, but Dieng just isn't that, and Tom Thibodeau seems to like the guy. He can hit some mid-range, but it's about to be 2018. I don't want a power forward who can hit mid-range. So I don't think it's a perfect fit with Jimmy Butler on the T-Wolves just yet. I don't know if Ricky Rubio's right next to him. I don't know if Andrew Wiggins is right next to him. I definitely give Wiggins a better chance of being the right teammate for Butler. But still, this is a massive talent upgrade for the T-Wolves, and I understand why they would do it. But let me talk about these guys a little bit more. Specifically free agency, because they have some options. Now, they traded away Zach LaVine as well as Chris Dunn, which is about $7 million. And then Jimmy Butler makes $17, which would jump up their salary by about $10 million, but they are off of Nikola Pekovic's salary because of his injury. His money is not on their books anymore, which means they're basically back where they started before this move, which gives them about $19 million in salary going into free agency. And immediately I'm looking at the point guard position. Patty Mills seems pretty affordable. Jeff Teague could also be affordable, but I don't know if he's the ideal fit because he still kind of needs the ball in his hand. He's gotten better as an off-ball player, but it's still not like his natural thing. George Hill would be a fantastic fit. It just depends if you have enough money. Drew Holiday would be very good for them as well. Any of those guys who could play off of Jimmy Butler's ball handling, but also handle the ball themselves at times would be good for their point guard. If they can't get a point, you could look towards the power forward position. I've mentioned Patrick Patterson with almost every single team. I'm going to mention him with these guys as well. Those are just some options for them free agency-wise. Shooting, defense, and I think that's the way to go.